Hey guys, Nerdquest Podcast episode 2.
Woo!
And we have a very special episode today because it's about something that has brought basically me and all my nerdy friends together.
That's right.
Harry Potter. I'd also like to remind you guys that we are not affiliated with the Nerdquest indie movie coming out. Today on the podcast we have me and we have...
Me, Marksman, a.k.a. Josh, a.k.a. Zorgulon, Destroyer of Worlds.
You know,
and we have a guest.
We have a guest. We have one of our cute, cuddly guests that
Guest. What's your name, guest?
Hi, MK, MCAT.
So guest is MCAT.
You can find her on Tumblr at clichemk.tumblr.com, and we'll repeat that at the end when you can send us, or we're telling you to send us asks.
I'm cool, love me.
Yeah. Anyway, MCAT, I became friends with MCAT through the Harry Potter Club in high school. I think you became friends with her through... Choir.
Yep.
So, but anyway, we all three have a very big mutual love for...
the universe that is Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I'm sure we all have a backstory of how we got into it, and I'm sure we'll dive into that too.
Assuming I can remember.
To naturally segue into a topic, we're trying to figure out which Harry Potter movie to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only caveat is I don't have Deathly Hallows Part 2 yet.
Which is fine because that's not one of my
really love
favorites.
that one.
I
do love it.
I hate the ending.
I just love it because war.
No, okay, you know what pissed me off about the ending?
What?
It was nowhere near the book. At least before the epilogue. Harry snaps the fucking Elder Wand and then throws it off the bridge.
Spoiler alert.
We don't... Okay, it's been out for a couple of years. If you haven't seen it yet, you're
There's
retarded.
no limitations
or you're
on spoilers,
stupid.
guys.
Anyway, but in the book, I mean, in the book, he breaks his wand at Bathilda Bagshot's house.
I recall.
And he fixes his wand with the Elder Wand and then puts the wand back in Dumbledore's tomb. Not in the movie, though. The movie's like, you know what? Fuck this wand, breaks it, and then throws it into the big, like, moat around Hogwarts.
Least favorite movie and why?
Least favorite movie? Harry Potter 6. Half-Blood Prince was horrible compared to the book. Like, they made it
Okay,
more...
when we talk about movies, we're just going to assume compared to the book.
Yeah.
When we talk about how bad it is.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing that pissed me off about book 6 is, or the sixth movie, is the fact that they made it more about the romances going on in Hogwarts with Ron and Lavender and the Hermione love triangle. Yeah.
However, I have to say, those were some hilarious moments.
They were, but the whole point of Half-Blood Prince is to find out Voldemort's backstory. You don't hear anything about the Gaunts. Mm-hmm. You don't hear anything. No. The only memory they dive into is the one where Tom Riddle's trying to find the Horcrux.
There's so many more too that were so good.
And the one where Dumbledore visits him at the orphanage. Yes. It's been a while since I've seen the sixth movie, so I'm not sure. Yeah. But for me, it's the lamest movie because it's the most inaccurate to the book. Because like I said, they care more about the romance going on in it, and that's not what the sixth book was about.
Right.
It was a small side story.
What about you, MCAT?
I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of number 5. I don't know if it was just all the angsty stuff.
Josh hates 5
with a passion,
but
it went so off track for what the book was representing, like in that walk of Harry's life. Before
we continue, I just want to say, I know I talked about how we're going to shorten the podcast.
It might not happen for Harry Potter ones.
Not for the Harry Potter episodes. This is going to run long, but it'll be good content that you guys will love for you who do love Harry Potter.
I'm good
/
at editing.
care about life
do, like,
/
highlight.
We might, but I think we'll just play the whole thing.
Alright.
We'll look into it more.
No, I mean, like, on top of that, I could
yeah. Do a shortened version to kind of tease them.
I'm probably going to edit this out. But,
well.
So, my least favorite is Order of the Phoenix is definitely up there just because Sirius is the best, in my opinion, in my not-so-humble opinion, Sirius is the best character to ever happen to the Harry Potter series, short of Harry himself.
This will lead me to why I love the third book, but go ahead. And
when he died, I was reading the book, and these were like my Bible growing up. And
same here.
And I read it, and I read that Sirius died, and I read a couple more pages just to make sure he'd actually died. And I threw the book against the wall because no.
I gotta say, I think Sirius' death is the one that impacted me the most. I think it impacted me more than Dumbledore's death.
It definitely impacted me more than Dumbledore's death.
I saw Dumbledore's death coming in the sixth book.
They had some foreshadowing for it.
Yeah, they had some foreshadowing. He was getting sick. He had that withered hand, and the whole Draco Snape thing going on in the backstory, you could kind of see it coming.
Yup.
And so I was more prepared for that. In book 5, when Sirius dies, it blindsides you.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just making
so
sure
devastating.
that and yeah, no, that's about it. I was gonna say Goblet of Fire is my least favorite movie, even over Order of the Phoenix, but then Dragons.
Goblet of Fire is my least favorite book.
Okay,
It
just okay. First, getting this out of the way.
Secrets might be my least
Getting this out of the way. In the Harry Potter universe, magical creatures are my Achilles heel.
Yep.
I love dragons. I love Cerberus, aka Fluffy. Phoenix, Fox is a G. The Basilisk.
When it came to the trivia, or like there were random days in school where Josh and I would just start throwing random trivia at each other about Harry Potter, and it would go on probably throughout the whole day, and then we'd end it either me with a Quidditch question because I know a lot about Quidditch, or Josh would throw some kind of care magical creatures, and I just wouldn't give a shit because I don't care about care magical creatures.
Which is kind of how I feel about Quidditch.
I feel like if we were at Hogwarts next to divination, care magical creatures would be my worst subject.
Well, no, it wouldn't, because we all know you would get me to do your homework, and I love care magical creatures.
You'd be my Hermione in the care magical creatures.
Yeah.
Now, we've discussed what houses we thought we would be in, and I've been told it's a cop-out because the big main characters in the house, but I've always felt like I'm a Gryffindor.
Because I think that you're right.
I'm a really loyal person, but I'm also like kind of egotistical, like most Gryffindors. But I do tend to put everyone in front of me, as always. Yeah. When it comes to friends, I take a bullet for anyone or a killing curse for anyone.
Oh, serious.
And not regret it. MCAT, your house.
I've been told I'm a Ravenclaw, but in all honesty, unfortunately, well, not really unfortunately, but I'm probably a Hufflepuff. I'm closer to the kitchen. I mean, that's the thing.
MCAT's not a stoner like most Hufflepuffs probably are, but
well,
moving on.
The house I think I would be in. It's really kind of a toss-up. You know, I've been told Gryffindor before, and I've been told Hufflepuff, but I really think I'd be a Ravenclaw, just because I am... My grades in school, this is kind of ironic, but my grades in school would actually drop because I was busy daydreaming about my next story I'd be writing, or I'd be drawing or something, so definitely on the creativity end of it, I've got Ravenclaw.
Oh, speaking of Ravenclaw, are we just going to ignore how they screwed up the colors in the movies?
No, I hate that.
We are not.
With a fiery passion.
MCAT would know better than anyone. MCAT, what are the Ravenclaw colors?
Symbolism! Okay? Like, it's Gryffindor's red and gold. Gold, understand?
Yeah.
Okay? Slytherin, it's green and silver. You see a pattern here? That makes Ravenclaw blue and bronze.
And
Hufflepuff?
Yellow and Hufflepuff.
And
yellow, now, you lose!
Now, in the movies, they have Ravenclaws being blue and silver, right?
Yeah, it's blue and silver, and they still have Slytherin as blue and silver.
Blue and silver. I never
Slytherin as blue and silver, really?
I never got why they got that. Why they did that.
They didn't like the color bronze.
First of all, bronze is one of my favorites. I love just the tone of bronze.
This is why I don't like book to movie adaptations, because literally once you have the rights to the movie, they literally could have made a Harry Potter movie, and the story could not have been anything related to the books.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Pretty much. All I had to do was say Harry Potter, and you had to have the Harry Potter characters in it, and it could have been any story they wanted. So what do? They take advantage of that a lot in the movies, and they change things up.
Well, to be fair, also a lot of the stuff that's changed up is changed up because they don't have the time frame to tell the whole story. That's why I let Azkaban slide.
Okay, here's a good one. What are some movie adaptations that you actually liked?
Holes.
Holes was fantastic.
Holes is hands down probably. I haven't seen a. Harry
Potter wise.
Oh, Harry Potter wise.
Like specific. I love Holes.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
No, I mean specific themes. Come on.
Oh.
Work with me here.
Okay. I'm spacing out again. I'm kind of spacing out. What was the question again?
What are specific things?
From the book to the movie.
Specific things that happened in the movies that were just spot on.
I'm going back to Prisoner of Azkaban, and it sounds stupid, but they nailed the hair.
Yeah, that's true.
They're always talking about how Harry's hair is always messy, Ron's hair is always messy. Hermione's hair was kind of groomed, but it was a lot frizzier than the second movie.
Yeah.
You could really tell that they took time into accuracy. The only thing they didn't do, they didn't match was Draco Malfoy. Because he had ungelled hair the whole movie, and everybody knows Draco Malfoy has the slick black blonde hair. I can't talk to that.
I don't mind it too much because I feel like that's kind of the age where people go through like weird phases, so it didn't really bother me that much. One of my favorite movie adaptations that changed, but I liked it, was How Hedwig Died.
Yeah.
Because there is so much that you can put in a book in an instance that you cannot put into a movie.
That's true.
So, her dying in the cage in the movie would have been like bam. So the fact that they gave her an honorable, like valiant death that matched her personality was good.
One thing I liked about it too is the throw in on Moody's death. I feel like they really did portray the feelings in the room really well.
The faux glass too in Moody's room. They only mention it once, but he's like looking into it. You can see these ghosts of people around it.
That's the thing they could have left out. And I would have been fine about it because I probably would have forgot about it in the movie. But they threw it back in, and I loved it. But that's a double-edged sword for me because they can throw the faux glass in, but they can't throw other big thing. They can't throw Dobby in. Come on. That's the biggest thing I hated throughout all the movies was Dobby was only in.
The CGI quality depreciated so bad over time too. Like they did so well in the second movie with Dobby, and it looked like they didn't even try.
But one of the things that I thought was really just absolutely there are a couple things to mention. It was absolutely spot on from book to movie. One, this is going to be weird, but the werewolf.
Oh,
I remember reading and thinking, okay, this doesn't sound like a typical werewolf that you see, thick, bushy hair and the roaring. No, it was Lupin's werewolf. He was still obviously a werewolf, but the hair was short and bristly, and
he was a very thin, sickly-looking werewolf, how Lupin always looks.
And another thing was he wasn't very aggressive.
Yeah.
Which I thought made a lot of sense because Lupin kind of he held down the werewolf and didn't let it roam.
Lupin spent his whole life trying to control that thing, and so. Yeah, he's going to lose control when he turns into a werewolf, but he still has a bit of control where he can stay kind of tame like that.
Also, Sirius, just in general, yes.
I got to say, that's probably the best character they nailed every single time with Sirius.
And the Inferi were pretty awesome.
Yeah, but I like how Rowling kind of didn't go into great detail.
Yeah, she left them a little room to play.
Yeah, you got some room to play with how you imagine how they look like.
But with I think their two crowning achievements were one, the Hungarian Horntail. You guys knew it was going to be a dragon.
Yeah.
But it looked like it had tons of little spikes. It was just it looked vicious.
Yeah.
And the other one is my favorite house elf.
Winky.
No, God, no. I hate Winky.
Creature?
Yeah! Creature's a G. Hate Dobby with a passion. Yes, you can send us hate mail for that. But
not us, but you can send Josh hate mail.
I hate Dobby. I think he's a very flat, annoying character. He has two modes, free the house elves and love Harry Potter. And that's it. From point A to point. Creature changes over time, which makes him an interesting character.
You know what people really hate?
What?
The whole green eye, blue eye Harry Potter thing. Like, they get really upset over that.
I wasn't that upset about it because I understand.
You can only do so much.
Well, no, it's not that. It's the fact that
he tried contacts and his eyes would reject them.
It's something he can't control. Like he can't handle contacts. So that's why I'm fine, and I'm glad they didn't try to
tie the whole movie.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm glad they didn't try to CGI his eyes green.
Those always look weird.
Would have looked horrible.
The only thing I've ever seen good CGI color change eyes was in Supernatural.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
That'll be on another podcast, though.
Oh, yes.
Josh and I will have a separate Supernatural podcast.
But
none
of this changes the fact that we still don't know what movie to watch.
I'm stuck. I'm still on 3.
I'm going to have to give it to 3 because werewolves.
3.
All right. I win.
All right.
Woo!
I think
10 points to Dumbledore.
I have ish with 4. I have ish with 4, the book and the movie.
I have an ish with 5 so big that
Josh
you
doesn't
tractor through it.
Josh doesn't like Dobby, but I do, and it's the fact. And what pissed me off about the most about the movie was the lack of Dobby, because he helps Harry Potter so much throughout the series, especially with the gillyweed in 4. But Neville comes in to save him.
I actually like that. I actually ended up liking that better. I mean, I do wish they had Dobby more because he's a pivotal character. Mm-hmm. But 1, it gives Neville a bit more of a character, and 2, it kind of shapes what his skill set is going to be.
But the thing is, though, is that they mentioned it briefly in the books. Like you get maybe 1 to 2 sentences about Neville, and it'd be the same thing. He's skilled with herbology, and he was never really that important until about book 5. That's when he really kind of came into his own, and you really saw why
he became a badass
and why he was a Gryffindor.
Oh, you want to talk about characters that are missing? Peeves.
Yeah, I know that one was a little unsettling because, I mean, his parts in the books aren't important, but it adds a good comic relief.
It's the best.
Yeah,
and I remember one of my favorite parts in, I believe it was 5, maybe 6. Is when McGonagall's talking to Peeves, like mouthing it unscrews the other way.
Yes.
Trying to get the shit.
Oh yes.
Oh, and one of the reasons I just love Peeves so much is because you know Hogwarts is sentient. It like to a degree it has sentience. It's almost an organic life.
Yeah.
Peeves is the ghosts. Yes, they do represent the cat. Peeves is probably the closest thing to being an actual embodiment of that sentience.
Yeah, and you can. Even in the books, just reading, when Rowling talks about Hogwarts and describes it, you can just, like, feel it being a living thing.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, even seeing it in the movies, there's just something about it
that seems alive.
Yes. It doesn't seem like it's just a castle. It seems like there's more to it, and there's more underneath.
You guys been to a castle? Castles are so dead.
They are.
Like, so dead.
No, but, like, okay, a couple things that I loved about Peeves. 1, just imagining Peeves during the Battle of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Like,
Chaos.
all of the fuckery. He also represents the third side of magic that we think of. We think of defense against the dark arts as a light type of magic, to put it to oversimplify. Then there's the dark arts, aka black magic. And then there's the neutral middle ground that is pure chaos. And that's what Peeves is.
Yeah.
The other thing that made me, like, I legitimately cried when Fred and George said, "Peace out, Hogwarts, we're done here," and they fly off after causing all kinds. Yes, give him hell, Peeves. And Peeves' response is to snap off a salute.
Yeah.
And, like, I actually cried because I didn't think Peeves would have ever put his allegiance to anything but Hogwarts.
I think they did pretty good with Fred and George's escape, or leaving Hogwarts. It was a little altered from the book, but I still think they did a great job.
I think they did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, probably my favorite part with Fred, or one of my favorite parts with Fred and George
in the books,
is not in the book, or not in the books. I think it's the 6th movie where they go to Weez's Wizard Weez's, and Ron's like, "How much for all this?" And they're like, "5 sickles,
5 galleons."
Oh no, it was 5 sickles. Yeah, and he goes, "No, really, how much?" Like 5 sickles. They're like, "But I'm your brother." Like 7 sickles.
Yeah.
Which,
in the movies,
quick side note, they did bring up 7. Which, if you know Harry Potter conspiracy, there's a big thing about the number 7, how it's like the most magical number or something like that.
Yeah. In the movies, actually, it was changed from that to 5 galleons and then 10 galleons.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, then it was...
I saw a gif of that not too long ago.
Then it was in the book that was 7 sickles. All right.
But the other thing is, and I noticed this when Fred and George were leaving, they replaced Peeves' salute with Flitwick's arm pump.
Yeah. You got to throw it in. You got to throw some kind of salute towards them.
Oh, you got to. I mean, they may have been screwballs, but they were good at what they did.
The one thing they left out of them leaving the castle that I really wish up in the movie was the swamp they put in.
Yeah. The courtyard.
Yep, and how a little
was just like, fence that off.
a little chunk was left because it was, for some reason, they couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it was just and they made it clear in the book, even though Rowling didn't need to put it in there.
It was just a good bit of magic.
It was a good bit of magic, but it was a monument to Fred and George.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then they escaped out from under the worst person in Harry Potter.
One of the things I really appreciate, though, is when they do have to replace something, they do the little things count. They have a lot of symbolism to them. For example, the fact that Flitwick was like a very proper, like no nonsense kind of professor, who was respecting Fred and George for their whimsical character themselves.
And they may have been a nuisance to the school, but they brought something to the school that no one else would ever bring in. No, I don't even think something the Marauders could have brought to that school. And it was the fact that no matter what was going on, and no matter how dark the times got there, the twins brought a little light to it.
Yeah,
and they brought
even more once they started Weasley's Wizard Weasley.
And they brought fun to it, and they showed that
they gave people a reason to want to learn magic.
The other thing that bothered me is that they did not take into account the fact that Harry funded Weasley.
Yes,
that too with his
Triwizard money to me because he didn't need that money.
Yeah.
They literally mentioned he's loaded once the whole entire series.
The whole entire series because I'm glad they don't spend a lot of time on that because it would seem like they're adding an ego boost to Harry that he doesn't have. Like he doesn't run around showing off his money. I mean, they even mentioned in the third movie how he could have bought that Firebolt.
Yeah,
when he saw it in the shop, but he didn't want to waste his cash on that. Even though he had plenty of cash he had plenty of money.
Plenty to waste.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. Oh, first you got because
it was just a quick. How did his parents get all that money?
James, I'm not sure.
We know that James was an R, right?
I don't think it was ever officially established.
What the hell did Lily do? It's never.
They're both working jobs and they have a relationship and they're living in a Muggle house. They're probably doing pretty well on cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just it would be kind of cool. It doesn't have to be in the books, but it'd be kind of cool if it was like in the Wikipedia or something that Rowling put in where she just kind of mentioned what they did. I want to say that James wasn't on.
It seems like it, but
I want to say it was mentioned that he was.
Don't yell at me. They lived in Godric's Hollow. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a very nice place. I mean, it was
It was average.
Yeah,
it was above average, but it was like a nice little neighborhood, quiet place.
But they obviously saw. I mean, honestly, I think James still had quite a bit of money left over from the Marauders days. But
what do you think they did? Like rob a bank or something?
With that map, you never know. No, I don't know. Just like I could. Okay, if I had the map, I'd be selling secrets to people.
I wouldn't be selling secrets. I'd be stealing shit from Honeydukes.
And then you'd be fatter than me.
I'll call it canon. They stole shit from Honeydukes and sold it to the students.
That sounds exactly like something I would do.
Tell me that's not something James and Sirius would do in the middle of the night when they can't sleep.
And then Lupin would be like chiding them and
because Lupin was
was the moral compass.
He was the Hermione of the Marauders.
I can see Sirius stealing and selling, but I can see Fred and George buying and marking it up and making them pay for it
because they were smart enough to do that shit.
Yeah, they're clever, but they're not bad. Like they've never been bad kids. They've just been like troublesome.
Okay, so
clowns.
Okay, so Sirius and James were probably stealing shit, and then Peter went along with it because he could.
Yeah,
they probably had Peter sell it.
Yeah. They just didn't tell Lupin that they didn't buy it.
Yeah. But no. Okay, so like
where'd you get this? I don't know.
Internet. Okay, so most tear-jerking moment from any of the movies.
We all know what yours is going to be. It's going to be Sirius dying.
No, it's not.
What? Mine might be Sirius dying. It's Lupin and Tonks in part 2 in the Great Hall. It's just the fact, and this pissed me off the most about the book. It's the only time I've disagreed with Rowling in a writing and like fully had like something against her. It's how she glossed over it and how she just said like, and I get in the moment,
everything was happening really quickly.
How everything's just going to hell and what's on Harry's mind. The fact that he's not going to sit there and really reflect on the fact that Lupin and Tonks are dead. But it's the fact of how pivotal those characters were throughout Harry's
formative years.
Yes, it was the fact that he's just like, oh, Tonks and Lupin are dead. Big deal.
Have you seen? Okay, this is kind of it's on topic, but it's not. It's Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium when he's talking about death.
No.
Okay, well, he's talking about how, like, even in Shakespeare, like, some of the greatest characters of all time, they'll be talking and then all of a sudden he won't write anything epic or beautiful if he dies.
Yeah.
So it's a real slap to the face in the sense that it doesn't matter who you are, you pass the same way. And and that in that heat of the moment situation, it's something that you can't really grasp, and I feel like that was intentional that she didn't give them that that moment.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, it makes sense. But it's just always let me believe, like, how did they die?
Yeah.
I don't believe it was a killing curse. I feel like none of the Death Eaters really, especially with the fact that they were together and they were in love. I feel like it had
it was something.
An overall message in Harry Potter is that love conquers all. Love conquers all evil. And the fact that they were in love and they were finally together and they were happy, I feel like no Death Eaters could have touched them in that battle. So I feel like something might have a freak accident might have happened where side of the castle blew in, and that's how they died. Or they got kind of like how Fred died, where it was just there was a big calamity, there was a big kind of explosion,
there was a big thing, and just death.
I feel like that's how it happened because I feel like there's no way in hell they could have been touched by a Death Eater.
Honestly, my two biggest oh shit tear-jerking moments were, one was just out of pure awesome. It was when McGonagall turns around and those suits of armor that you've seen the entire series, she says, "Defend this chasm!" Oh, those do shit.
Yeah, you didn't already know that McGonagall was a badass? Here, let me reinforce that.
The other one was when Snape attacks Harry and McGonagall just block. No, because you can see that look on Snape's face.
This is coming from Tumblr, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, no, that's, I saw that, I'm like, wait. And then I watched the movie again, I'm like, oh, God.
Because it's the fact that he's seen that before.
Yeah.
Not only has he seen that before, but it was the same exact boy that he's seen that before.
And he caused it.
And it was a woman willing to sacrifice
her life to protect Harry.
Yeah. And the fact that it was because of that, he recoiled just for that second, and he didn't fight McGonagall, he just went.
I would. I'd just fucking leave.
Yeah. But, sometimes I feel like McGonagall is underappreciated in the books.
I feel like she's always underappreciated. There's just no amount of awesome that can be attributed to her that would be accurate.
Well, and it's kind of hard to, because just the fact of the vast amount of characters there are, and not only the fact that Rowling did something special where she made all those characters special, and all of them in a big way.
They're all world living, breathing characters.
McGonagall never did anything huge until the last book, really. But it was the fact that
she was always there, and she was
always there.
Yeah.
I really as much as this is playing devil's advocate, I'd love if there was more McGonagall in the books. But I really like the fact that she kind of dabbles in and out of Harry's life because she is a teacher, and from Harry's point of view, this is the appropriate relationship.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that we get to see that character so well in the time that we have with her.
I think what I love about her is that she stays so professional always.
But she's just so wonderful.
Oh, Death Eaters attacking the castle? Professional face.
Yeah. She never flies off the handle, even with Umbridge. Never flew off the handle.
Never did.
She never breaks. That's why she's so badass, and that's why I love McGonagall.
One of the most beautifully done scenes was when she and Umbridge are arguing on the stairs.
Oh, geez.
And they just keep climbing up the stairs.
That was just such beautiful choreography with that, and it was the fact that just the symbolism of it is that each time they talk, you could tell one of them
just keep trying to get one up on the other.
They were just one upping each other, and then finally, and I hated to see it, but Umbridge says that final line. I can't remember what it is.
I don't either.
And McGonagall's just in shock, and she just has to take that step down.
Yeah.
And just with how short and stumpy Umbridge is, and how tall and thin McGonagall is,
it's really impactful.
It's really impactful to see Umbridge looking down at McGonagall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the one thing I really like about the movies is they can't do all the spur of the moment, everyone's thinking this kind of a thing that books can, but they can show so much more physically. Mm-hmm. So even though McGonagall has to take that step down, I feel like it's less of a defeat and more of a I'm not letting this happen.
Yeah.
This isn't happening,
Mm-hmm.
So my voice compared to your guys' when you talk.
It is. It's hilarious. So we're just real quick. We're on Audacity, and whenever we talk, it shows the sound waves and how and our voices projecting. And when Josh and I talk, it's going off the charts. It's all over.
We're loud.
We're
MCAT talks, and it's very, very tiny, and it's very just subtle, and it's hilarious.
But back on topic, I think another one of those scenes that just doesn't get enough
Recognition. Yeah.
is when Umbridge is kicking Trelawney out.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like Trelawney in general.
No,
I don't really like her, but she's not. It's not like everyone in the world feels about Umbridge.
Yeah,
but
it's not that you don't hate her. You're not a fan of her,
right? But like it was
the
just
characters are so developed.
Yeah,
like, people who are bad aren't bad. People who are crazy aren't crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
I almost cried
mm-hmm.
like when she was moving Trelawney, and then Albus comes in and just
Dumbledore being a badass as usual.
The other one is Ferenzi as the new divination teacher.
That's the thing they left out of the movies.
I know,
but it's something I didn't mind.
Agreed.
Those moments in the books where they're in divination with Ferenzi, it was one of those things where it was very few times when reading the books where I was like, I just want this to get over.
Random upset racistness.
Pretty much.
What about Umbridge? No, but I think it's really funny, and it goes to show just how much she put into Umbridge. That there's Voldemort runs through all 7 books, is this Devil King tyrant.
Basically.
There's Quirrell, who was willing to kill anybody that got in his way. Lockhart, who is just this amoral cockbag.
Yeah.
Amoral cockbag.
Yes. Barty Crouch Jr., who would do anything to bring Voldemort back. Literally.
Yeah.
And the person that everybody hates most of all is the little woman in pink.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy just to think that, like, Voldemort's the overall bad guy of the series.
Right.
And you grow such a hatred to him. But you could not deny the fact that Umbridge is probably the most hated character in all the series.
Easily. I mean,
we all know someone who has a little Umbridge in them.
Yeah.
And we see it in her so much that it's like, it's literally everything we hate about that person personified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I think you nailed it. It's the fact that, like, she's not evil like Dumbledore evil or like Voldemort evil, where she wants to kill. Voldemort evil, where all he wants to do, he wants to kill and conquer
indiscriminately.
And it's the fact that she's just evil to the point where she wants to humiliate.
There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. She has. Well, why does Umbridge need to be mean? Why does Umbridge need to be evil? There's really no reason for her to be that way.
People like that in the world. The Anons on Tumblr.
It's the fact. It's the fact. It's the fact that you nailed it. It's the fact that she's probably
just a bad.
She's everywhere.
She's the most relatable person. Probably the most relatable character in the book in the series, and the fact that everybody knows someone that's exactly like her. All they want to do is they want to humiliate and they want to bring people down.
No words. No, they're just gone. I think about Umbridge. I just have this blinding flash of rage.
It's
that's what it is.
Phenomenal.
I think that for me the key difference is, using Dungeons and Dragons alignment terms. Voldemort is chaotic evil.
You're gonna lose me on this one.
They're pretty simple.
Okay.
Voldemort is chaotic evil. Umbridge is lawful evil. She adheres to this law, and she twists it intentionally. She twists it so that she can have as much power as possible.
Yeah.
And I guess to me, I really hate her because, for those of you who don't know, I have been in many theatrical plays, one of which was 1984.
Oh my god.
When I look at Umbridge, all I can see is O'Brien from 1984, and Harry in the room with the quill that writes on his hand is Room 101.
Room 101 with the rats.
Yes.
Okay, so just real quick, this is how Josh and I became to know Josh, is the fact that I went and saw 1984 that he was in, and Josh is hands down probably one of the nicest people you will ever meet, and one of the most just one of the most genuinely cuddly like people that you'll ever meet. He played such an evil, maniacal character in 1984 where you could see Umbridge in it easily. And it's so funny because afterwards, I was like, hey dude, good job on playing. I thought he might like bite my head off or something. But he's like, oh, thank you, I'm glad you appreciate it, all this shit. I'm like, you can't hate him now.
That's the most insidious part.
Oh.
It's kind of like, bringing it back to topic, there's the one character who Umbridge had complete power over because, and Jake and I have talked before, what would we be like if we were at Hogwarts? We would just be horrible to this one individual that Umbridge had complete power over because she was the only one that was nice to him. Filch.
Yeah.
She was the only, besides Dumbledore, who wasn't either nice or horrible to Filch. He was neutral.
But that goes back to thinking he's professional, Filch.
Yeah. Well, Umbridge was nice to him. She was pleasant, and that's what won him over, and therefore she suddenly knows everything about the
as head Inquisitor, she gave him a little bit of power, and he ran with it.
Yeah, she respected his knowledge.
Yes.
Which nobody, especially not Fred or George.
No. But yeah, it was
hands down in the books when it comes to character development. Like, it's not like everyone has their own little side backstory thing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk louder. It's not like everyone has their own little backstory. It's not like everyone has their own little sob story, but every character in Harry Potter is developed so well and works.
And that's the genius of J.K. Rowling, is the fact that there's so many characters in there, she could have just glossed over and be like, oh, this is Seamus.
But no, she gave him each a backstory.
He's just a friend of Harry's and he's a fellow Gryffindor, and that...
So much more.
And he makes things go boom.
His anger and...
Yeah,
and
exactly. She gave him development.
She gave him life.
Yeah.
The thing was, with Filch in particular, he didn't exactly have a sob story.
He didn't.
But
he's just
a bitter man. And it's completely understandable why, because for those of you who don't know, although, to be honest, if you don't know this, why are you listening?
For real.
He's a squib, which means he's the opposite of a Muggleborn. He is born into a magical family, but has no magical ability. And that would destroy me.
I feel like he's some kind of masochist, because if you're a squib and you can't do magic, why go be a caretaker at a school for magical kids?
No, because that's kind of a double-edged sword. You're already born into a magical family.
You
can't live. You can't live in a Muggle world.
That's true, but you can do something else besides work at a school where magic's flying around.
How many jobs do you think there will be for squibs in the Wizarding world?
Go work at Flourish and Blotts, or the ice cream. Ice cream parlor.
But those are very small businesses, and they're already owned and operated. Hogwarts and the Ministry of Magic are going to be like the only places you can get a job.
Which will be miserable for him anyway. The corporate world. He's like
Filch in the corporate world. Could you see that? And imagine, okay, he has a job interview with Cornelius Fudge, who talks down to him because he's a squib.
Yeah.
Then he has an interview with Dumbledore. Dumbledore, who's
the most understanding.
He's understanding. He's wise. He's intelligent, and he treats him like a human being.
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna want to work there.
Think about how miserable that would be, though, to know all the wonders of that world and not be able to experience it firsthand.
It's
kind of like where we are.
It's like being friends with superheroes and not having
very,
powers.
very real.
I think, though, that he does. I think she gave him a little bit of a break. Because it's mentioned how, one, he's just unearthly quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Two, his connection with Mrs. Norris.
Yeah.
I thought of the first time I read that.
That's one thing that I think Rowling could have gone deeper into, was him and Mrs. Norris and their connection.
Because first thing I thought of when I saw it was, he's a warlock with a black cat. He's a male witch with a black cat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is. And so I think she gave him a little bit of a break there.
Yeah.
And... I feel like there's something more to that. Like, there's something magic about it.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, care of magical creatures, you don't have to be magic for a lot of it.
No, you don't, actually. You just gotta have knowledge of magical creatures.
And, with hippogriffs, a healthy respect / fear for them.
Yeah. you can't just try to dominate them.
Yeah, no.
Don't be a Malfoy.
It is a part.
You and your
That's got to be a slogan now. That has to be a thing.
I gotta say,
be respectful. Don't be a Malfoy.
That's one of my favorite lines in the series and the movies. He's like, "You're gonna pay for this, you and your bloody chicken." It was good. It was a good little funny line in the movie.
There's a lot of stuff they omitted care magical creature wise. I remember
Blasted
Scroots. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, flobberworms.
No, what are the things to have like the little snouts and they're black and they're cute and
Nifflers.
Thank you.
I want to pet one.
Ask him. I'm not gonna know.
Well, I know. That's why I was asking.
But flobberworms. No, it's not a big point like the Blast-Ended Stroots were, but it was one of their first classes. No, it was after the Hippogriff incident. They worked with flobberworms
for so long
because that had broken Hagrid.
Yeah.
Because Hagrid liked showing them these powerful, beautiful creatures like the Hippogriff. And then he was shut down for it, so he had to show them these tame, annoying little bastards.
And it sucked, too, because you got one thing I love about Hagrid is his passion for animals and his passion for magical creatures.
Yup.
And real quick, going back to because Blast into Scrooge reminded me of this. Another thing that I hate about the fourth movie is that there's no Blast into Scrooge in it, and there's no Sphinx in the maze.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, that broke me. I just like it's the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Hagrid, though. He's like the guy who's super into the fandom and that all of his friends don't know about. And he's like, look at this, appreciate this, look how cool this shit is.
He's
and
that
everyone
crazy.
else is like, that's nice.
He's that crazy fangirl no one understands.
No, like...
And then he meets someone like me.
Yeah.
Bros for life.
One, looking at things and really appreciating all the little things in life, and no one else sees
But
it.
I feel like if he hadn't been expelled from Hogwarts, he wouldn't have the same appreciation
for it.
because he'd have magic. He doesn't have magic, and he has the umbrella that he can use,
Yeah.
but he can't go around waving his wand willy nilly.
No.
So he has to have some. He has to
have some channel for it.
Yeah, he wants some kind of connection still to Wizarding
And
World.
he loved animals before that, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what got him expelled.
And
God.
it's just I think it's just really beautiful to see his passion for it.
It is.
And the fact that it's like, oh, you have a dragon egg, Hagrid. What the fuck are you doing with the dragon egg? And Hagrid's like, I've just always wanted a dragon.
We all know Umbridge, but we all know several people who have a little Hagrid in them.
I think everybody has a little Hagrid.
It's just the happy,
There's that.
dopey smirk on your face.
Everybody has that
Josh
one.
does.
Everyone has that one thing that'll put that smile on their face, that dopey smile on their face, and it's just. I think that what's great about not necessarily the main characters of the movie or the series, but the supporting characters, is the fact that J.K. Rowling made it to where they had that one human trait that everybody has.
Yeah.
And they just you're talking about a Wizarding World where people can do something you can't do in real life.
Yeah.
But she made it to where there's still a part of that of every character that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Or do an Avengers one.
Okay, we will.
Or to aspire to be like Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Because like Dumbledore, he's not relatable to a lot of people because
And there's Dumbledore.
no, but he's the ideal. He's who you want to be.
Yeah.
It's Dumbledore time. Have a seat and grab a drink.
Yeah, for real. You
Take a potty
want
break.
to be that person that everyone respects and everybody loves. You want to be that person who has compassion for everything. And like Dumbledore could easily just hate Voldemort, but he still had
A respect
for him, but he still had a little compassion for Voldemort. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like I think it's mainly because he was the first one to ever talk to Tom Riddle.
Yeah.
And he saw Tom Riddle change into Lord Voldemort, and that killed him.
Oh yeah.
Because he was just he
wanted to see the good in him.
Yeah, he wanted to see the good. He had such potential to be such a great wizard and really impact the Wizarding World for good. And he went the wrong direction. And it was a total Anakin Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Except for, better than the movies.
Yeah.
The other thing about Dumbledore, though, is that it was really cool to see a character that was, like, nearly omnipotent be so human.
And oh god, was he omnipotent.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, just because there's one scene that, it's from the books. I don't think they actually did this part of it. It's a little clip from the duel in the Ministry that Dumbledore and Voldemort have. That just gets me every time. They're dueling, and Dumbledore casts this silver spell that Voldemort actually has to conjure a shield.
Yes! Yeah, okay, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, they mentioned that you can block spells by waving your wand.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, Voldemort would throw a counter curse instead. Yeah. But no. Apparently, it was something that Voldemort didn't know about, didn't have enough power to block and or destroy it. Yeah, he's afraid of that. I mean,
yeah.
And
the only person that ever knew about the Horcruxes, all of the Horcruxes, was Dumbledore.
Yeah.
But you got to figure out, you got to think. I meant besides Voldemort. Yeah. You got to think, like, how the fuck did he figure all that out?
Because he be Dumbledore.
And here's what I love about it, is we never assume that he just knew. We see him as a human character, even though he knows everything. We see him as the person who's stressed out, pacing in his office, trying to figure this out night after night after night.
That's one of my favorite things about when the Marauders map is first introduced, is that they point that out. And it's this Dumbledore, he's pacing the office, and Friend George is like, he does that a lot lately. And it's because, and I feel like, in hindsight now, thinking about it, and it hit me a while ago, but what do you think he was pacing about? I feel like he started finding the Horcruxes for him in the third book.
I feel like it was after the second one when he came to the realization that the diary had such an effect on people's memories.
And the fact that
he does that
when he realized,
oh my god!
See, it was probably the fact that he realized what the diary really was.
That
was a Horcrux.
And I think this is my single favorite thing about the entirety of Harry Potter. We've been I've read them since I was in first grade.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
And
we'll get into this towards the end. We'll get into the whole
when I got into it.
Right. Well, I read them since first grade, but the important thing to take away from this is I know a lot about Harry Potter, and just even today I had never thought about that before, but my mind was just blown
about that.
Yeah.
About
Dumbledore pacing his office because of the Horcruxes. I had never put two and two together.
I think he after the second book he came to the realization of what he's up against and the fact that if Voldemort comes back, it's not going to be
shit's going to go down.
It's not going to be as easy to get rid of him as he thought it would be. It's not just going to be like a simple spell that gets him away. It's the fact that it's going to be a challenge and it's going to be something near impossible. And I think along with figuring out what the Horcruxes were, another reason why he would pace. He was trying to figure out how he's going to get Harry ready for it.
Yeah. How to get rid of him. There are very few ways. And I really can't see Dumbledore using Fiend Fire.
And there was also
going out and hunting a basilisk. Maybe.
Well,
I might see him.
Well, after the second movie, he pretty much had the basilisk at his disposal since it was dead in the Chamber of Secrets underneath his
skull. Time for another fang.
That's another thing too. You have all the magic in the world. Why didn't anybody remove a giant-ass dead basilisk in underneath the school? Why?
People weren't supposed to know that.
A lot of people didn't know about it.
Well, that's true, but I guess, where the fuck are you gonna put it? And
basilisk venom, crystallized basilisk venom was a wand core. Mm-hmm. Now, admittedly, it's been outlawed for some time.
If there's one thing Josh knows almost as much as care magical creatures, it's wand lore, and it's amazing his knowledge for it because it's blown my mind.
Thank you. But basilisk fangs. Mm-hmm. Imagine how much one would cost for potions.
Yeah.
Or for hell, personally, if I were Filch, I would sell shit. I'd sell basilisk fangs.
I'm glad it was never put in. But I would love to see Slughorn's reaction if someone had told him there's a dead basilisk underneath the school, untouched.
Headcanon accepted.
He would go so nuts. I think he would go more crazy than Aragog.
Yeah,
but that thing would be gone. Gone.
Sorry, I'm borrowing this. Just hook 2 ropes around his body. I'm borrowing this.
He'd get a Hermione bag, stick all that in there.
For real, Hermione's little Mary Poppins bag. By the way, canon, Mary Poppins is part of the Wizarding World. That explains her giant-ass bag.
And everything else she does, flying with an umbrella.
With an umbrella.
She's sassy, too. She don't care who knows it.
Nope.
But, I don't know. I think one of the things that I loved was just watching Hagrid be so nervous about using magic every time he does it.
Yeah. And that goes back to the whole human trait of Hagrid is the fact that everybody's kind of done something. Doesn't matter at some level. Well, not that they're necessarily proud of, but they've done it where they're like, I could get caught for this, and I'm afraid to get caught. So before they do it, they're really kind of paranoid about it.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say is with Dumbledore that they show so much weakness, and another thing that factors into all of the stress that he went through is the terrible wound he gets on his arm from the ring, and I feel like. It's accepting defeat to kind of show it, but at the same time, it's not.
It gives him strength.
It's not saddening. It's humbling, and it shows his character even more.
I know they went over this in Snape's Memories. Was it the 6th book? It was the time frame. It was towards the beginning of the 6th book where he kind of realized that he's gonna die, and he told Snape to kill him.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was at the end of the 5th. Fifth book in that timeline.
I feel like he knew during the Order times because there was a lot of sneaky stuff going on there.
Well, and of course,
end of 5th,
and of course Trelawney.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure Trelawney's told him he's going to die several times.
Well, who hasn't she told him he's going to die?
Me.
You're going to turn into a marshmallow.
I will, and then proceed to.
You're going to suffer.
Yeah,
but you're going to be cheerful about it. Oh, what, Josh? I see it moving around.
I've got some wheels turning because it made me think of Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
Suffering and cheerfulness right together.
They're all so different, but they're all so well developed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not gonna be our only Harry Potter podcast. We will have many more, and there's just so many things we talked about today that we could go on to separate long podcasts about and stuff, and I'm sure we'll go back to it.
We haven't brought up the first book at all.
But just
we haven't,
real quick,
but
remember, of course, there's the whole thing in Deathly Hallows where they're out and about in the real world.
Yeah.
And there's no question they were having a hard time with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But they had each other and they were happy for that.
So they're suffering, but they were so about it. Josh, you bastard. You clever bastard.
Sybil for the win.
See, I think
Trelawney in the Battle of Hogwarts.
I think that goes to another underrated character. Is the fact that everybody just took her she said for granted. It's that's whatever.
Well, but the Grimm was a huge part of Harry's life, and he did die.
But the thing is though is that if you look deep enough into it, you can see that a lot of her predictions were right. So I mean, as Josh just pointed out.
I feel like
we need to see Trelawney say called it. Okay,
yeah, called it, exactly. She had that power, and when Dumbledore gave her the position after she proved that she did have that power, she felt pressured to not only teach the students about divination, but to be that seer, that divine seer that
to protect Dumbledore,
she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like she could call.
No,
what's it called? She couldn't do it on command.
She couldn't call prophecies.
So she felt like she didn't have enough power, and just the little things, just the way she says things, develop her character.
Yeah, and those offhanded things that she says, when she's at the end of her rope, when Harry was with the Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's the obvious thing there, but then of course Harry did end up dying.
Yeah.
Then
called it.
Yeah. Just she's got a lot more power than anyone really thinks.
Yeah.
And of course she can throw crystal balls at people.
And then there's the Malfoy family.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck the Malfoys.
That'll be a whole separate podcast. But MCAT did bring up a good point, is the fact that we've mentioned just about every single book except the first one. And I think why is because if you notice what we talked about is all the character development and everything everyone's came to be.
Or they were just established in the first one.
They weren't. They weren't really touched that much in the first one.
Everything was established, but it wasn't.
It was
expanded,
set up.
Yeah.
Essentially, the first book was one big giant setup for the rest of the series,
like any given TV show.
And stuff. And it's funny too because I don't think anybody will ever say. I'm sure. Shut up. Damn it.
Yeah, I called him out and stuff.
Fuck you. Now it's gonna bug me.
You guys need to count it. We need a counter of and stuff.
Okay, so I have a really bad habit of saying and stuff after a lot of things I say.
If you hear a mumble and then it was probably and stuff.
Yeah, and so it would be cool if someone did bring that up and let me know how many times I say and stuff.
That counts. That counts.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't count.
Anyway, I feel there's going to be people out there who disagree with this, but I feel like there's a lot of nobody really hates the first book, but no one absolutely loves it either. It's in that dead zone middle where it's a good book, but it's
steadfast neutral.
And it's crucial information. It's a good book, but it's nothing insanely important.
You're not in love with the characters yet.
No, it's the start. It's a lot like, but I can't really relate it to movies because in movies, when it comes to series, the first movie is normally the best one, except for the Dark Knight trilogy. Dark Knight's hands down the best movie. But it's all about character development, and it's all about learning, just setting you up and kind of giving you an idea of what you're going to expect. But on the other side of that, it's setting up for something, and it's kickstarting your love for this series.
I really don't see why you need either of us for this podcast. I mean, you could just argue with yourself all day.
I could. I contradict myself a lot, and I go back and forth on a lot of the things I say. All right, so shut up. Maybe I'll start doing a separate podcast about this shit.
Mine. I don't care. 'Cause I'm not.
I'm kidding.
I'm just a guest star.
Love me. You'll be on a lot more than just the Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Yay! Love me, people. Love me.
MCAT might just become a regular.
Depends on what they say.
We'll see.
What if they don't like
all
me?
11
How can we
views.
not
All
like
11
it?
views. 3 of which I think were us when we were trying to figure out if we set it up right.
It's
If
not.
you keep me on here, I will make sure that that this is more fluent.
And she's
Yes.
and she's a hot woman. Nerds, do your thing.
Yeah, there might be videos, you know.
She
Whoa.
keeps us.
Saying that right after what I just said made it seem so
Just
much worse.
They can see what my face looks like.
She
My face.
She keeps us in check, and she just said she's able to
Divert us.
yes.
I have plans to set up like several small conversations so that you don't have to go, oh, all Harry Potter, skip, and you can actually, be engrossed in our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I'm holding the case for the first movie right now.
Mm-hmm. The
But-
chess game.
Yeah, well,
Debt.
I love the chess game because it showed off Ron as more than just a side character.
just a goofy sidekick.
Well, but he's gotta have a wicked mind.
He does, but you see that throughout the rest of the series too. There's small
There are
points,
things, but like, I
nothing
think
as crucial as the chess game, though.
right. But like,
his aunt later though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
and
But he, just real quick, you could see he becomes a pissant because you got to think about how hard it is to be best friends with
Harry
the
Potter.
most famous
Yeah.
wizard ever.
and
I just don't like it.
and Hermione is
It's
clearly
good in the
smarter
books.
than either of them, so she's
Combined.
got that going for that for her. So
And
he's
she's
kind
hot.
of the nothing character, but he knows it.
And
Yeah.
we see a lot of that with the Horcrux too.
Yeah.
Oh, that killed me. It was just Ron's
Oh.
Ron's downfall, and just seeing him go into that dark hole because of the Horcrux, and just really bring. I feel like what the Horcrux did is really bring out what he uses his goofiness and he uses his antics to hide how he really feels, and the Horcrux acted like booze, and
It's
it just
not
brought out. It
Brought
just
out the
brought
worst.
it brought out the worst, and it brought out how he really felt about this, how he's always felt.
The nasty. It's like the ring of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You know.
But the first one brought in a bunch of characters that I was always like, I really wish they'd come back. One was Griphook the Goblin, and I was so psyched when he came back.
Yes, he came back in the 7th one.
And of course, Ollivander.
Oh, man.
I feel like Ollivander may have been a bit of a senior as well.
He could have been.
Easily. He just had that.
It would have fit his look.
He looked bad. Like, that's one thing that was just really well done, makeup and costume-wise. He looked bad. Insane.
Yeah. I think everyone can agree. The people they casted for the whole series and the movies, you can't cast
There were
someone
some
better.
incongruencies though.
Like what?
Like Crab.
Well, that
I know, but I'm just saying
that
you could've got
came with
someone
its
who
own
looked a
thing.
little
They could have made it. Yeah, they could have made it to where this is Crab, but he looks a little bit different. Kind of, but
Hi, I changed ethnicities. How's it going?
well, the thing is though, they never did. They
didn't do enough.
They
with
pointed
them to
out that
warrant
it was
people
Zane Blaze, I think that's his last name. They never said, "Hey, this is Crab."
know,
He's
but
black. He's
at the
black
same
and skinny
time-
now. No, but it's because of the whole. He was like arrested on drug charges, and so they fired him from the series.
Right.
Right.
And he shot himself in the foot on that one.
Yeah.
But you gotta replace him somehow. And instead of being like, well, this is Crab,
Crab.
he looks a little.
This is the black crab.
This is black
He's got
crab.
too long in a tanning bed.
Dungeness.
But instead of like casting someone that looks like him and like trying to pull off like this is Crab still,
Yeah.
they just replaced him with something.
Yeah, Lavender too.
She actually did change ethnicities though.
Yeah.
She was black and then she turned white.
Yeah.
What about my?
That's a thing.
Anyway, I had to bring it out.
What?
Nothing. Anyway, no, but another character that
Wait, what are you bringing up?
don't know. I'm not. It's different topic, kind of. But it's one of the characters that I wish that she'd done more with.
Never mind. I thought you were gonna bring something else up.
No.
No. See?
I'll talk after.
Nah,
'Cause I don't feel like breaking down on the podcast right now.
Okay. Anyway, it was Nicholas Flamel.
What about him?
Just there's. This is the only thing I have like a serious beef with Rowling about is there is so much about Flamel.
That she could have put in there.
Well, no, like like, I love Nicholas Flamel. He's one of the most famous alchemists. Actually, he's the most famous alchemist.
I like the fact
world.
that she added a real life person into the series.
I did too. What I didn't like was that it was a throwaway reference.
Yeah.
And there's so much about Flamel.
Oh yeah, that it was tossed around.
See, you say that, but I still feel like you never see him in the book or the movie. She still gave him a character though.
No,
and she still made him a person you can that's in the back of your mind throughout the book.
I just wish there had been like even a couple more references to him because he was only ever mentioned in the first one. He was mentioned briefly in.
Don't ask me more.
I'm gonna give you my Wreck-It Ralph argument because this is what my parents always say. And you're like, oh, I wish there was more characters. I wish there was more people we recognize. Like they could have milked that for everything it's worth. Cameos are great, but cameos are also cheap. So the fact that J.K. Rowling did use a actual figure who we can do research on our own and actually like appreciate the fact that he's a real character is really cool. But I really appreciate that it's not a huge deal and that it's not being like used constantly.
I like what she's saying that she didn't piggyback on Flamel to.
I get that.
Flamel for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
She incorporated him in a very appropriate way. That made the
because cameos can steal a show.
They can.
You can
Stan Lee.
Yeah, you can make a movie and you can put like a famous person in there
and ruin it. And
it can ruin it because you'll spend the whole rest of the movie like, I can't believe that person was in here. Why don't they have more lines? Why don't they have more of this and this and this?
Even that Flamel's not, like famous.
Well, not famous, but he's real.
Right.
And so I think I like what she did with it though because I'm gonna piggyback on what you said, the fact that she made him made him a reference.
Yeah.
And it was the fact that it was a way of her tying Harry Potter into the real world.
It was.
And bringing it to the real world. It's the fact that, it's a real person. It's like, well, how do we know that Nicholas Flamel wasn't actually a wizard?
Also, how ridiculous would it be to invent a character and give character development to somebody who is just the inventor of something important?
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. So it was actually a very appropriate place to have someone who's a real person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not talking about bringing Flamel into the series as a character.
I'm just saying
give
more backstory.
I just wish that the references were a little more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because they mention how Flamel is a really good friend of Dumbledore, but he's only mentioned once.
That's true. I feel like it would have been cool if at the end Harry met him.
That would.
If maybe if.
My brain.
After he gets the stone and defeats Quirrell, if he wakes up in the infirmary and he meets Dumbledore in his office, and as they're talking, there's a knock on the door, and Flamel walks in to grab the Sorcerer's Stone. Or if any of our listeners are British, the Philosopher's Stone, which also is one thing I hate they did with American publishing.
Yeah,
they changed it from Philosopher's Stone to Sorcerer's Stone.
Which Philosopher's Stone would have been fine.
It would have been fine.
I didn't get that either.
And then people rag on it like the fact that it's because it's American publishing, they got to dumb it down so people get it right. And then people on Tumblr, I've seen people make fun of the fact and they've changed. They did one where I saw one post where they're like, I hate how they dumbed it down. Let me just dumb down the rest of the titles for you. And they made Harry Potter and the Big Snake in the Basement and shit like that. It's just and that annoys me. And I would have been perfectly. It confused me when I first started reading Harry Potter. I thought the Philosopher's Stone was like a second book, and
a secret book that you wouldn't get because it wasn't here.
Well, not that it was a secret. Yeah, and one I couldn't find it, but I thought it was like, oh, well, maybe the first two books are about stones, or maybe it'll tie into later on in the series. But no, it's the same book, just a different title, and that bugged me so much growing up.
Well, I mean, the only reason it really bugged me is because I've known about Flamel my whole life.
Yeah.
And he was not a sorcerer, he was not a wizard, he was an alchemist and a philosopher.
Yeah.
Why is that such a difficult concept to grasp?
Yeah. And I'm gonna pimp a fanfic series that I read or that
I think
I
I've
read.
told about this numerous times.
It's the James Potter series.
Yep,
I can't tell you who it's made by, but look it up, Google it. It's great. And they do in the first one. They bring a Flamel-esque character into it, but he plays a more pivotal role. They bring Benjamin Franklin into the story.
That's pretty awesome.
As an actual he's the new Defense Against the Dark Arts at Hogwarts, and he plays a pretty key role in it. I think they bring Andrew Jackson in too, and he teaches he teaches a class that's called Philosophy of Magic, and yeah, stuff. You got to read the series. They're actually lengthy books. I think the first one it's called like the Hall of Elders Crossing or something like that. It's like 400 pages, and it's a great read.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around Andrew Jackson being a teacher. Just I don't know how much you know about Andrew Jackson as a president.
I know about his military lifestyle.
He brandished a sword in Congress once.
Yeah.
It's just like...
He's a crazy bastard.
Not crazy, just incredibly violent.
Well, I'm telling you, read it, you'll understand.
I may have to now, just because... I get a lot of shit from Andrew Jackson, my favorite president.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. Probably another podcast, maybe. Possibly. Probably.
I just have like a whole list planned out in my head of short things that you can just go off on tangents for because you don't assign yourself the topic.
What we do is assign ourselves
a
topic.
So many ideas.
It just happens to be a broad
topic.
topic.
Let me stay. Love me.
Are they Harry Potter, or are they
no,
just...
like just anything.
We'll talk about it afterwards. Like I said, you're probably going to be a regular on this, and so we'll
or
probably,
at least semi-regular.
We'll probably have a podcast where we don't have a recognized theme. And,
at least one.
And we'll just do like a hodgepodge of stuff, nerdy stuff we talk about.
Oh, right. I'm getting texts.
Josh's phone broke before the podcast, and he can't look at the screen.
Yeah, okay. I have an iPhone 4S, and the screen it's on. There's light coming from it, but it's black. And like, no matter what I do, nothing happens. And
Nerdquesters, teach us.
If I touch it, then like, you know how on a computer it'll like look like it's rippling around the finger. Yeah, that shit happens.
Now we've been going a while. Do we want to wrap it up, or is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
I can go off on my rant on the fourth book.
Go ahead.
Okay. I love Harry Potter books. I ate that shit up. I love all of them. So I'm not saying I hate it. I'm saying I like it the least. And the reason why I like it the least is because I feel like it's a bunch of filler. If you look at it, I feel like she had it planned out from beginning to end. She knew her beginning, she knew her ending. But honestly, the only content in the fourth book that has anything to do with the rest of the series is at the very end. And she really just needed a time and a place for Harry to experience the ending of the fourth book.
I get what you say, because the other tasks didn't really have anything to do with the overdriving story.
They don't help develop any characters except for Cedric, who dies.
And Harry.
And the reason why is because tying off loose ends, because Cedric developed so much in that book, and then he wasn't needed anymore.
But I feel like what it could be written up to is lead up to the Moody character, because you find out everything Harry did in those in the tasks and how he got an edge was all because Moody was dropping a line to other people.
But once again, at the same time, that wasn't Moody. Like I'm saying, every important character that was developing was not related to the rest of the whole story.
So you feel like they could have forgotten the whole Triwizard Tournament, and they could have like made Moody a character and still.
At the same time, you can't skip over Harry's fourth year. It's not like you can just go fast forward.
But you feel like they could have
something there.
But you feel like they could have done
better.
You feel like they could have done something other than Triwizard Tournament.
I can't say that, because honestly, I can't think of anything better. The only thing that is a problem to me is that it's not.
It's not all
it does
relative to the plot, to the overarching plot.
Every Harry Potter book has like at least 25% of it, whether it's underlying or not, is very important to the grand scheme of the story.
Of the overall series.
Exactly, and the only one that doesn't do that is the fourth book, because all we get from the fourth book is Voldemort's coming back. Which, first of all, we kind of already knew. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you could
tell.
You could have predicted
easily by the second book.
The
fact of like how even he's not really present in the books, but he's mentioned so much. He's talked about so much that you know that in the end it's gonna be he's gonna be the one to kill.
I think the fourth book was necessary, but from a couple different perspectives. One, yes. The first three did a fantastic job at fleshing out everything, but the Triwizard Tournament really expanded the world by a lot, which she kind of needed for the next few.
This is true.
I see what you mean.
Like
it's such a drastic expansion, though. these places were never mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
This tournament, this huge tournament that
They
everyone's
never-
really excited about was never mentioned.
They
before.
never mentioned other schools in the other books.
But there was no reason to.
They never mentioned Quidditch tournaments. Like,
But
that's
almost
true.
everything in the fourth book was brought up
Well,
in the fourth
okay,
book.
But
okay.
you can
The Quidditch tournament can be hand waved because Harry lives in a Muggle society.
Fair.
Lives for the most part in a Muggle society.
Mm-hmm.
As for the Triwizard tournament, they mentioned that it's like once every 300 years.
No,
No.
It
Yeah.
had been a long time since the last one because a kid died in it.
Right.
But I don't think they. Someone sent us an inbox or a message after this and letting us know. I don't think they ever specified how many years there are in between each Triwizard tournament. I want to, but if I were to guess, I would say it's something like the Olympics where there's 4 years between each tournament.
Whereas Durmstrang and Beauxbaton, they're in France, which is not a huge.
I thought Drumstring is in Bulgaria.
Durmstrang is actually, I'm pretty sure, in it's Scandinavian. I know that. Pretty sure it's Norwegian because they use almost like a Viking longboat style, and that's a very Norwegian thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just their clothes are Norwegian. There's a lot of Viking influence in everything that they have and do.
I definitely see it now that I'm thinking back on it and the movie and how they were portrayed. I see it now, and it makes a lot more sense that they were Norwegian.
Yeah. Whereas Beauxbaton is in a very exclusive school. It's all girl. I mean,
was it all girl in the book?
yeah, it was.
They never mentioned any boys.
I don't. Is Drumstring all boy too?
Yeah.
They never mentioned
So
any
Hogwarts is the only co-ed.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay. I just never realized that before.
I think
That's
it's
the
because
business school.
yeah. Well,
I didn't say that.
regardless, and the schools could have been mentioned. During one of the thousands of time Harry cut class because he was low busy saving the world.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I feel like it could have been mentioned in the first book when Hagrid is showing him Diagon Alley and kind of giving him a quick backstory of the Wizarding World.
Yeah.
I feel like it definitely could have been mentioned that Hogwarts isn't the only school. I mean, there's Bobat, or he could have said something about how maybe Drumstring was making a bid to have him on the acceptance list.
He probably didn't know. Probably because Norway and Wales are not terribly close.
Can we have a whole podcast about Snape, please?
Yeah.
Very easily.
You know what I just realized?
What?
We mentioned Snape maybe twice in this whole podcast.
Wow.
Well, but she's right. Well, he's just such a pivotal character. We can have a whole podcast on him in this thing.
Anyway, enough Potter Puppet House.
What about
shameless plug?
What about Harry Potter musical
Or Harry Potter sequel?
or Harry Potter Senior Year?
Yes to all.
I'm Snape!
I'm a snake.
Let's go! Just kidding, I'm Snape!
Back on topic.
Yeah.
It is on
About to
topic.
put handbags. But there's just so much going on in Diagon Alley, Hogsmeade, Hogwarts that I'm sure they don't think about the schools that often.
Another thing I like about the James Potter series, the fanfic series that was made, is they make mention of an American wizarding school.
Yeah.
And which is never even touched in the book.
Well, it has to be,
There has to be, because you can't just say that wizards are exclusive to Europe.
You never know.
That would be pretty rare. That people would literally have to stay in Europe.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I get so good at sarcasm, people actually mistake it.
But that leads me also to another thing is that why is it just 3 schools in the Triwizard Tournament? Why don't they invite more? Why don't they invite one from Latin America?
It's probably a tradition thing.
It could be. You're right. It could be.
First of all, there's the number 3.
True.
Which is significant in Magic from Days of Yore. Yes, I use the phrase "Days of Yore," but
they could have made it 7.
They could have.
But if you think about it, 7 schools
God.
in the
in one Hogwarts.
In one Hogwarts, that's a lot to keep a track of.
And all the duels that would break out, and all the random fights.
I'd be so fun.
And think about like normal schools. You know, you've got like area, district, and state and stuff. So
yeah,
like,
for all we know, there could be Triwizard tournaments in other countries too.
Yeah, I'm saying even if there isn't like a winner of a winner meeting, there's still the fact that it's highly impractical to try to get people from like the Americas to go all the way over. Unless
Durmstrang like
there is for sure there's for sure American Wizards. You know how I know? Because in Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup, the video game, there's an American national team, and I would use them, and I would fucking own them. All right.
Someone got sassy.
No, okay. So here's a fun question that I just thought of, and then this could probably be our last. Actually, this would be a great ending question.
All right. Yeah, because we've gone pretty long. We should probably wrap it up soon.
All right. What cities, other than Salem, would make for a good American wizarding school?
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But I only say that because that's canon in the James Potter series. Is that the American Wizarding School in Philadelphia? But it makes sense because Philadelphia is
they signed the Declaration in Philadelphia.
It's a huge it's an important city in the country.
Yeah,
and stuff. I feel like if there was a school, it'd be on
in the middle.
I feel like if there was an American Wizarding School, it'd be on the East Coast and it'd be in one of the states that was part of the original 13 colonies.
I was thinking Vermont or
I feel like it would be in a state that's very woodsy.
Thinking about distance from the schools in the Triwizard Tournament, odds are we probably have two schools. We have an East Coast.
We might. Huh?
It'd be Delaware.
Why?
Oregon.
Washington, D.C.?
West Coast.
No, Delaware, as in, like...
Delaware?
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly.
I can't find it. Delaware?
No, my brain is not working. First state.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean, but I don't know.
What?
I feel like...
Shut up, Timo.
Who? I'm not Timo. Not right now. This is a Harry Potter podcast.
But you got your hat.
Anyway, I feel like if they were to make a wizarding school in America, they would wait for the colonies to be more established before they were like, "Hey, let's make a wizarding school."
So I'm with MK though. It'd definitely be an East Coast and a West Coast.
I could say that too.
So to wrap up,
we got it.
Each of us throw out two cities that one East, one West Coast that could possibly be. And then, followers, anons, random person I met on the bus the other day, send us your ideas.
Someone else go, because I'm trying to think of an East Coast city.
I'm going to go Switzerland on this one. Oh. Did anyone get my joke? I don't care. As long as there's one I can attend.
It was just a horrible joke.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I think...
It's great.
I'm a little biased as to this one, but I think West Coast would be Seattle.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it would be in Oregon. I think it would be somewhere in Oregon, and I can't name an Oregon.
Well,
Oregon
but the Oregon territory was Washington, Oregon, and Idaho.
You know where it's not? New Jersey.
But I do think that Seattle would be a place to have a wizarding school.
I don't think it's too. I think it's too heavily populated.
It's too hipstery.
True. We don't need it.
No. Across the Sound, Whidbey Island.
Whidbey Island.
Ooh.
Okay.
Right.
San Juan Islands. You could hide a wizarding.
Okay, so two cities go.
Oh shit. I'm just gonna stick somewhere in Oregon. I'll say like Corvallis, Oregon, on the West Coast, and I don't really know a lot of cities on the East Coast. I'm not gonna say Salem, Massachusetts. I would say. I don't know a city. I would say somewhere in Delaware or Iowa, not because it's the first. Like Delaware was the first state. Just because it's kind of they're woodsy states, and there's probably tons of places you could hide a magical school.
Okay.
Like obviously we were kind of against them in the early Americas, but are there any castles around the Americas? I don't think so.
Really.
No. Not unless they're modern, like someone built them for zombie.
Well, there could. We just can't see them.
Two cities.
The Delusionment Charms.
Well, I guess I'll stick with Oregon.
Okay.
Said it first. Rewind it. No. When it comes to the East Coast, I'm really not sure. Stop. Stop with the poking.
Well, let's see. Rhode Island, not Massachusetts. No. Maine. Rhode Island would be perfect for it then.
I feel like Massachusetts could work because of the Salem witch trials.
That's why I said except for Salem when I first asked the question.
But why not? But now that I think about it,
I feel like they wouldn't do it because it'd be too obvious.
That's true.
Unless they were already there, and that's why they're worse.
And except for LSD. I would say Seattle and actually New York. Because my logic for that is New York was a city when it was first there, but it was one of like the first cities, and it was a place where it could easily hide a magic place.
What was it?
New York.
I'm thinking like.
And have you seen anything from Marvel? Everything happens in New York.
Wait. We've been talking about America. We did not go to the idea that there could be a wizarding school in Canada.
Oh my god.
Who's saying
Canada?
Who's saying that we're saying American. Technically Canada's part of North America. So who's to say that there wouldn't be a wizarding school up there? One of the wizarding schools wouldn't be up there.
The Yukon.
Yeah.
Welcome to Defense Against Dark Magic, eh?
Alright, so that's it for this week's podcast. Next week we will be talking about
our zombie apocalypse survival guide. And just the zombie apocalypse in general.
Absolutely. And some tips on planning for it.
Yes. Well, if MCAT is available, we might invite her back.
Maybe.
She will start becoming more regular though,
Feedback.
because it would be nice to have a
female?
One a female, but like more than two
viewpoints
and opinions.
But we'll talk about this later.
Yes.
The upside of me being super unpopular on every internet social thing known to man is if you have any questions for me, I will answer all of them.
Same here.
Nothing is uncensored.
And you can find our personal Tumblrs at you first.
FornyJ.tumblr.com
ClichéMK.tumblr.com
and MorpheusDreamJosh.tumblr.com.
Please send us questions and more at nerdquestpodcast.tumblr.com. That's a hyphen in between nerd and quest, and then quest and podcast.
All right. You can also find, assuming that we're still keeping this up, we might just kill it.
Yeah.
We're chronicling all our stuff at nerdquestpodcast.blogspot.com.
We might get rid of it though. You can also find us at Nerdquest Podcast on YouTube.com.
Send suggestions. Tell us what you want to hear.
For real.
Should we keep MK around or should we sacrifice her to the wolves?
Yeah. Who knows?
All right.
Anyway,
I'll go sharpen the ritual knife.
You go sharpen the ritual knife? I'm going to be late for Transfiguration, and I can't have another detention with McGonagall.
Okay. So, break!
I've got
See you guys.
Peace out!
Bye!
Bye!